All right, got back from the Ohio Valley Turkey Bash this morning about 3 a.m. Went to bed, or no, we got back at 2 a.m. I went to bed at like 3:30. I woke up at 8 for some reason, but I got up and took a nap from like 12 to 3 or something like that. But anyway, we are back and the truck's unloaded. Willis went with me. I drove there, he drove back. Got the car unloaded, and we did pretty good in a 6.5 index actually, especially some of the cars we were up against were big tire race cars, which was kind of crazy because, you know, this is basically just a street car with a 5.3 and a turbo and a cam. So, I mean, it's kind of cool to go up against those people. But we ran into some issues, and I'll go over those here in a little bit. But pretty good at working on the motor side of cars. But I'm no mechanic, I'm no electrician or anything like that. So hopefully y'all watch these videos and learn from what works for me and what don't work, because I post what don't work too, and I do make mistakes like everybody else. And but we had an issue with the wiring on the car and almost didn't make the last round, but I'll go over that in a little bit. But when I got home, I did try to load the videos from the phone to the computer so I could put them on the video editing software. Somehow, I don't know if it where I was tired or what, but I lost a lot of the videos. So I'm just going to try to do this and commentate what happened and post what videos I have. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So I lost the video of the very first pass, which we got one test pass, but I did make some screenshots of it. I didn't lose those because I wanted to go over a few things. So on the practice pass, it showed what both cars' um, reaction time was on the boards. This guy cut a .01. I cut a .28. I got distracted. Don't ever get distracted on a pro tree. You're gonna lose automatically. But I don't know. I bumped in, and then I was waiting for him to bump in. And I looked over to see if he bumped in, and as I looked over, he bumped in, and then it went instant green, and he took off, and then I took off. But yeah, don't do that on a pro tree. You light that second bulb, you stay focused on those yellow lights. As soon as those three yellow lights light up all at one time, you go. But he cut a .01. I don't know how people do that on a pro tree, honestly. All right, and this is what the car ran on the test pass, a 634 at 110, which is kind of impressive because I had the boost controller set to where this thing should have ran about a 6.6. Actually, it ran a 656 at 1200 DA on that same exact setting. Now the DA was a lot lower this time, plus we had that dyno to clean up the air-fuel ratio, so both of those played a factor. And here's what the DA was on this pass. It was right at 300 feet density altitude. Now, if a lot of y'all are not familiar with the density altitude, it's the quality of the air. The lower the density altitude, the better quality of air, and the faster your car is going to go because it's getting more oxygen in. The higher the DA, the car slows down. Now on nitrous, it doesn't make a huge difference. The more nitrous you spray, it's just spraying cold air in there and it takes the DA out. But now on turbo, supercharger, blower applications, the higher the DA, it slows your car down. And it really, really slows your car down if you're running on motor only. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars all together. These are the cars that are in the 6.5 index. All right, so for the next pass, we turn the boost controller down 4 clicks just to try to slow the car down. But at this point, the DA had dropped negative, which 300 to negative 47 should only been about .03. just from the DA, probably not even that much on a turbo, maybe 0.02. But we went down 4 clicks and for the next race just to try to slow it down till we get it to run 650. All right, this is where it counts. Racing this purple 4th gen.
Can't never get enough.
Sponsored by the Herdez, Marshall Tester, Legacy Lane from Clay City, Kentucky. Cardboard dry dressing in a 96 Camaro.
All right, there you guys go. 6.64, but I let off of it. I saw him in the mirror. He was way back there. I treated him pretty good. I was paying attention that time. But I had to let off of it, and I didn't get a time slip to be able to. It spun bad. It spun all the way down through there. I might have to lower the 2-step some. I don't know. But if it would have hooked, that would have broke me out for sure. So I'm gonna go 3. Maybe I'll just turn the 2-step down. Okay, so right here we sprung a leak. I thought it was coming from the radiator because you can see water on the radiator, but it was just the hose clamp come loose. Actually, the other side of that hose, the hose clamp came loose on the dyno. But then the starter started dragging. And when we noticed when we tried to start it, there was big sparks shooting from that V-band clamp over to this little shield. So that left 5 cars left. And we lost the video for the next race. And the time slip booth, half the time I didn't get a ticket. They were like, it didn't print a ticket. So I didn't get a ticket for the first race or the 3rd race, but I got one for the 2nd and the 4th race. But what happened here is, I don't know if y'all watch all my videos, you know that before I had a ground wire running from the head over to the fender. Well, the alternator was down here. It was before I moved the alternator up there. I was thinking some magical way, because that ground wire, it was one of those metal braided ones. I was thinking some way, it never touched the stud. I was thinking some way that the windings in the alternator were just energizing it, and it kept burning holes, because I didn't have this on here. It'd lay across the oil feed, and it burnt a hole in 2 of them, and I had to replace it before I figured out that's what was happening. So I took that off, and the car would start, and everything worked fine. I thought, problem fixed. This ground wire, I had a ground wire coming off of here. There's a ground wire that runs here, and it went down to the motor mount, and then it comes up here to the fender, and then this big one goes back to the battery. I figured that was enough because I got solid motor mounts, but those motor mounts are powder coated, so obviously it wasn't getting enough through there. So it was trying to ground the starter through here, which wasn't enough, and that's why it was trying to arc to the oil feed and kept burning holes in it. Well, when I took that off, it tried to go through here. It tried to ground through here, and it welded this little shield for the brake lines. It welded it on there. Well, this finally come unwelded, and so I didn't have a good enough ground. So the starter started dragging, it started sparking. I had thought before in some of my other videos, see, what happened was the car started, I put the surge tank in there, and that's all I did, and then the car started cutting out. And I thought maybe where I did these fuel lines, it got the injectors dirty. So I had the injectors cleaned for no reason, because they were still good. And even Snake Eater came back and said, man, these things were clean. So that was a waste of 125 bucks. That issue, for some reason, caused the battery to go out. which that was on warranty. But come to find out, the two-step was getting energized when I wasn't even on the button, and that's why it was cutting out. I just luckily stumbled onto that and figured out why it was cutting out. I thought maybe it was in the tune or kept messing with the tune. It took me 2 weeks to figure that out. But it was the ground causing the two-step to malfunction. So I bought another two-step, and those things are like $300, which I was able to sell my old one because it still worked. But and come to find out now, the whole reason was the motor wasn't grounded good enough, and the starter pulls a lot of amps, and you got to have a good ground connected to the motor for the starter. And that steel braided line wasn't enough. That ground wire connected to the motor mount wasn't enough because the solid motor mounts are powder coated. So it tried to go to the least resistant spot it could find, and it went right there and welded that together, and it worked until that broke loose, and it broke loose at the track. So we couldn't get the car started. So what we did was we took that ground wire that went down to the motor mounts right here, we ran it over here behind the catch can to the driver's side head, and that got us started and up and running. We barely got that done in time to make it to that semifinal round, but we did make it to the semifinal round. We started leaking water too, and it was just the hose clamp come loose. I don't know why it came loose. This one came loose on the dyno and started leaking. It was just loose. Tighten it, and I know I tightened those when I put that on, but it just came loose. Tighten it back up, and this one come loose at the drag strip, started pouring water. We got that one tightened back up. It looked like it was leaking from the radiator right there, but I guess it was just squirting over. But then again, where the motor was trying to shoot spark, hopefully that didn't spark over and burn a hole. So I'm going to have to start the car later and make sure it ain't leaking there. If not, I'm going to have to replace the radiator. We fixed that barely in enough time, because by that time the car count was getting lower, and it was going fast between rounds, and they were calling the 6.5 index up there, and finally we made it up there just in time. We found somebody that had a little wire, but that wasn't enough. It burnt right through it. It started the car, but then it burnt right through it. It melted it. Oh, I should have brought that braided wire with me. But the reason it was working so long before is because this was welded up against that. We got burn a hole in it, and now it's come loose, and now the car don't want to start. Well, we ran the ground wire that was going down by the motor mount over to the passenger side head. We zip tied everything back, tightened up the radiator hose, so we're good. See what happens now. We barely made it to the lanes. They're about to start. So here we are. We made it to the lanes just in time. 3 cars left. I was hoping to get the bye, but nope, I had to race. Well, a few mistakes were made there. I went 3 clicks on the controller to try to slow it down more. Willis told me to go 5.
Yeah, I told him 5.
And I should had. But here's another mistake I made. See, he treated the crap out of me. I don't know how them guys are getting reaction times like that on a pro tree. But I had to go real hard to try to get around him. It was a close race. He was my fender was at his door. But here's the thing though, he broke out. So if I knew I couldn't have got around him, I should have hit the brakes right before I crossed the line, which would have we both broke out, but whoever breaks out the most loses. And look at that, I broke out by 0.003 more. If I'd have barely tapped the brakes and let him loose, because I couldn't get around him with that reaction time. He already had a 0.12 head start. I couldn't get around him. I should have tapped the brakes, and if I would have tapped the brakes, he would have broke out more than I broke out, because I only broke out more than him by 0.003. I mean, a bug could have hit the windshield and fixed that, but that's a rookie mistake. Type of racing, if you can't get around the guy and you push him, try to make him break out, but then hit the brakes right at the end, and then they'll break out. Hopefully they'll break out and you won't. But rookie mistake, we'll get it. We made it to 3 cars. That ain't bad at all, guys. I mean, first time doing 650 index, but we're going to keep doing this and get better at it. But I can't believe that whole ground wire issue. It had nothing to do with the alternator. The motor just wasn't getting grounded with those motor mounts that are they got that coating on them. What's that coating called? Huh? No, they dip them. I said it a while ago. But anyway, they got that coating on them, and I guess they're not grounding. So the one that I had running from the battery to the frame, I just moved it to the passenger side head, and we zip tied it back, and that fixed it. And then that upper radiator hose, the top part, it came loose on the dyno. I don't know why those are coming loose, but this time the bottom one come loose. We're going to have to run some more ground wires on it, and definitely try this again. And another thing I was told is not to run your brake through a relay. It slows you down. So we're going to get rid of the relays in both cars and run the trans brake straight to ground and battery through the button. But that's going to do it. Y'all like and subscribe, and we'll do some more of these. That's the whole thing I built that car for, 6.5 index. And Chris, we're going to make his go fast and try to do the heads up no front trip. Willis, what do you think about it?
We learned something tonight.
Yeah, learned something. We made it to 3 cars. We made it to 3 cars left.
Yeah, we done good.
I could have won there if I'd have tapped the brakes and let him go.
Just like last night.
Yeah.
I done the same thing.
Yeah. We'll get her. We'll get her. Like and subscribe and have a great day.